Welcome, everyone, to Well, That's Horrific, a podcast about anything and everything horror. I am your co host, Mr. S, and as you can see, I don't have Tommy here. If you've seen our previous episode, you know that he's on vacation. He went to Greece, so he will not be joining us because he will not be reviewing Scream this week. He hasn't seen it yet. Here we have family. This is my brother and my brother-in-law, but they're both my brothers. I'm going to get to them in a bit, but before we do that, I want to go ahead and mention that this is a spoiler review, so we will contain spoilers regarding the new Scream 6 film. If you have not seen it, please get out of here, go watch it, come back, or if you want, just watch it here. I know a lot of people, for some reason, like to see leaks and then experience the movie for themselves. If that suits you, fine. I don't know how that works, quite honestly, but I'm here. So, without further ado, I am going to kick it to Ace, because he was in an episode before, if you guys remember, an American Horror Story episode. I will kick it off to you. You guys are each going to introduce yourselves, but I also want to know what's your favorite horror movie kill. Not horror movie, but horror movie kill. So take it away, Ace.
Oof. Hey guys, how you doing? This is my second episode here. I was here the first time with American Horror Story. As you can see, I have my Scream shirt on, so I'm definitely ready for this podcast. Um, Favorite kill? You caught me off guard with that one.
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
I would say Michael Myers' original pin up against the wall with the knife.
Oh,
It's
on the bottom.
iconic. Yeah,
Okay, I like
you
it.
can't top that. That was like the first mainstream horror movie kill, so I'll go with that.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
How you guys doing? Nerman, first time on the pod, but
Welcome.
I will try to help fill Tom Cruise's large shoes. For my favorite kill on the spot, I'll go with the original Scream. The second kill, as I know you guys talked about on the first podcast, Mr. S here asked the trick question: will the first kill in Scream?
Yes.
So not the first kill, but the second kill. When she hangs off
Casey
the tree.
Becker. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Great choice. Great
legendary
choice. Yeah.
kill, legendary kill.
Legendary
And
kill.
since we're talking
Both.
about Scream,
Yeah, I think it's only fitting. That's right. I think they're both great kills, great mentions. Yeah, welcome, both of you to the podcast. It should be an exciting one. I know that we've been looking forward to it for quite some time. You know, ever since Scream 6 was announced. So now that we get the opportunity to review it, we're very thankful. So again, if you are here, this is your last warning. Thank you again, though, for being here at whatever podcast platform you're listening this on. We appreciate it immensely, and we are just gonna go ahead and just again review it however we see fit, and our insights, and we'll start with some honorable mentions here. Just some things to quickly recap. Nev Campbell was announced uh, dismissive from this movie. She was not going to be here. There was an issue regarding pay. That came to be true. We're going to go ahead and confirm that right off the bat. There was a lot of speculation regarding Stu. We're going to be talking about that in a little bit. And also, New York City, a new theme. That's the whole advertising marketing going on here. New York, new rules. We kind of want to talk about that too and how this plays a role in this film. But getting started with Scream, let's talk about the intro. I think that's where we're going to go ahead and start this. We know that in the last Scream film, they kind of broke the trend of people dying in the intro scene, right? But this year we had Samara Weaving. I know a lot of people were contemplating whether she's going to be first to die or if she was going to be the killer. And as it turns out, she was the first to die. So I'm going to take it to Ace here real quick. I know that you're a big fan of hers, especially from Ready or Not. What did you think about that intro sequence right there?
Um, I thought it was really innovative. I thought it caught everybody off guard once he pulls off the mask and we kind of get a reveal. People are contemplating if it can go one or two ways. I think they stuck with the landing only because it was kind of like a fake out reveal, only to find out that Ghostface was actually haunting Jason. But for Samara Weaving, I think with the screen time that she was given, I thought she knocked it out of the park. I think the kill was pretty gruesome. Like she sold that. Um, but yeah, I thought it was pretty innovative. That's one of the first things that I've been seeing. People saying that this has been the best opening since the original. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that she does. You know, she's an amazing actress. I think she does well in everything she plays, and I know Tommy's also a big fan of hers. It was interesting for me to hear Jason's voice. I thought when she was in the restaurant waiting for Ghostface. Well, obviously that we know that was quote unquote Ghostface, her date. I heard Jason's voice. Is played by Tony Revolori. I know him from Spider-Man: Homecoming and all that whole trilogy
Yeah.
there. So I was kind of thinking it was going to be something like Scream 3 for a little bit, like a voice changer, and I'm glad that it kind of wasn't because a lot of people were not fans of that whole Scream 3, voice changer bullshit. But that wasn't the case. But when the killer revealed himself to be Jason, I was like, okay, what the hell is going on? So that kind of threw me off guard, but then they kind of continued it with what happened, Ghostface calling the actual Jason and killing him and Greg. From that scene itself, though, Nerman, what do you think about Ghostface? What do you think the tone was from the very beginning there?
I thought it was gruesome, bloody and very straight to the point. She's looking down the hall, down the corridor, and she doesn't see anything. She walks in more, and you still don't see anything. She looks even to when she looks to the left, like by the dumpsters, you don't see anything, and boom, he just comes out of nowhere, and it's quick to the point. Doesn't say anything, it's just stomach right into the stomach, and another thing is like it was very bloody, like right off the bat, more so than in other movies, like very gory. So I think that set the tone right there to show you what the Ghostface was gonna be.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people were speculating a darker, more, devilish Ghostface. I think a lot of people anticipated that from the trailers, and I think that was a great way to start this movie. This movie had a lot of hype around it, especially from the Scream fans. A lot of people, including you, Ace, for some reason weren't really fans of Scream 5. So I think
Yeah.
they kind of had to make a nice little bang, in the beginning to try to set the tone. Um,
I also
yeah,
just wanted to quickly add on. There's actually an Easter egg in the opening scene. So you know the character Jason after he kills Samara Weaving's character, he
yeah.
goes back into his apartment. He watches Friday the 13th. Jason takes Manhattan. His name is Jason. They're in New York City. I thought that was funny.
So there's a lot of that. That's a great call out. There's a lot, and feel free, guys, to just jump in any second and just kind of give your insights on anything. There's a lot of Easter eggs with this movie, and just like there was with Scream 5, and we didn't really notice them until after the movie was finished, and obviously you do a little bit more of your behind the scenes research. So I think that was great. I also, I think for me though, I think the intro scene, I'm glad there were deaths because the last year they didn't have it. I was like, okay, fine. I kind of coped with it. But the mask, I want to talk about the mask right away because the mask was introduced when he killed Jason, and then Ghostface says this dope line. He goes, "Who gives a fuck about movies?" I think after seeing this film, I don't think I can see Ghostface with a white mask anymore. I feel like I don't.
Really?
I feel like I don't want to see it with a white mask anymore. Or
Need the
was that
chopped
just
up.
me?
Need the
Yeah, he's
chopped up
chopped
the
up. Yeah, and like
I
it's
mean,
like
he did
yeah.
look sick.
he did look sick. I think it represents his dark side for some reason. I don't see it coming back. I don't know why.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
like, I mean,
But
as a visual thing for me, but whatever. So after the intro scene, we're introduced to their core four, is what they're calling it now, right? The core four, and kind of New York City. How do you feel about the core four, guys? You liking it? You liking it better than the legacy characters?
It was
well,
lukewarm for Scream 5. I think they established themselves as the core four in this movie. I feel like they had a lot more to work with. I was more invested in their characters this time around, so I'll say that.
Okay.
yeah. I don't know if I was more invested, but I would say that it definitely, had one of them died, you know,
Yeah.
it would have you would have felt it more after this movie.
Exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to see that. But I do
Exactly.
like them overall. As like moving on, kind of like I don't see them because I don't see them in a future movie going back. Like this is I feel like this is the new generation. Like they're not really probably not going to reference other movies from what we've seen, like 1 through 4 anymore. I think they're kind of done with that. Other than bringing Gail and having them on in the movies. But other than that, it's like I feel like we're kind of past that. So I like them. I enjoy them.
Okay, so you make a great point. And again, obviously, we talk about, spoilers here again, third time I mentioned this. So we're not going to go by scene. I'm just trying to grab some key, moments from each scene just to kind of give a better understanding of the film. So you have a great point. So you say that Chad died. I mean, Chad hasn't died, Mindy hasn't died. They're both there. If you've seen a previous episode of ours, I made a prediction that one of them is definitely 100%.
Yeah, so did I.
And I would have bet my whole, savings on this, and I would have been bankrupt because nobody from them died. And I think what upsets me more than that is the fact that Chad, I think Mindy as well, but Chad's, stabbings, like there were fatal stabbings. I feel like anyone gets stabbed like that is going to die. Not to mention in the previous film, he was stabbed like 7 times, by Amber. So I get the core 4. I like it. The scene that they had in the apartment of having dinner, like they're all like holding each other's hands. And like, I like that. I'm not going to lie. Nerman, you make a great point of like, I don't know if they're going to mention Screams 1 through 4 anymore moving forward. To be quite honest with you though, I don't know if that's going to be the smart thing to do, because I think a lot of this movie's success was based on the attention to those killers and those people from 1 through 4. So what do you think, Ace? What do you think about the core 4, and what do you think about the movies going forward? Do you think that these are our new legacy characters, or what?
I definitely think, like Nerman was bringing up, I think they're like the new main standouts because it's like a new era, a new trilogy, if you will, which is something I also want to kind of highlight. This movie did have a lot of similarities to Scream 2, but back to your question, I think everybody could have predicted that either Chad or Mindy were gonna, go. But I think because they were trying to establish the core 4, I think from a creator standpoint, they didn't want to bring it up and solidify it and then take one of them away. I think that's what ended up happening. Because if they wanted to, they could have. Mindy got attacked in the subway, and then Chad got attacked by 2 ghost faces. They totally could have. And everybody thought Chad died in that scene. I did.
100%.
But then out of nowhere, he came back. So I think it's just solidifying the core 4 for the next film. That's honestly how I see it.
Okay, so you're saying the fact that they weren't really as concrete in the 5th film, that they kind of used this film to kind of do that.
Yeah, because they didn't bring up the term core 4 last movie. They brought it up this time around.
That's true. But I could have seen them like dying anyway, and then like I feel like that dinner scene would have been enough to establish a core 4. But I get what you're saying. I think for me, Tara was annoying the hell out of me in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie, she was annoying the hell out of me because if you really think about it, like she's not the main person. Like it or not, she's not the main person.
People want her to be, but she's not.
Yeah, so she's really not. So I don't know why she was doing that. Like, and if like she ended up dying, I would be shocked. Don't get me wrong, but like she was just in the beginning, she was really pissing me off. And then they had this like a little, love relationship with Chaz. So like I was like, okay, that's I guess going there. But I don't know. This core 4, I like the group. I think they're likable. I really think that. I have it listed as a con here that none of them died. I really do.
Me too, 100%.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that's a con,
100%.
absolutely. And, you mentioned, Ace, that this movie has parallels to Scream 2. We are going to talk about that because I have a bunch of notes just on that one. And I'm sure
there's
have
a
lot
lot
of insight on that. But overall, this Ghostface, I think, is one of the best Ghostface I've ever seen.
Hands down.
I agree.
Hands down, I think that's one thing that we were lacking. I've mentioned this to Tommy, too. I think that we when we see a Scream movie, I think all we care about is who is the killer. That's all that we care about. But we never really feel what the characters are feeling, the protagonist, and the suspense and the thrill of Ghostface and like what's going to happen. And the reason why I mentioned that is because now this movie, I think, was filled of a lot with suspense, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to talk about that. What do you guys think about the suspense here? What do you think about the chase scenes here?
I love them. Actually, I think kind of like everything melted together perfectly in like the boiling pot because we had a badass Ghostface. We had it in New York, so it's like most of the scenes it was nighttime. It's like he could come out of anywhere. He could come out of any alleyway. He could come out of any store, behind any car. There's a million people around. So it's like he could be anywhere, and like just the threat was always there. It was like always imminent. It was always you never knew where he was coming from. And then the chase scenes that lacked before, although I thought they were a little short, like the one I didn't like the most was pretty much the one in Gail's apartment where they're really just running around. Like she goes out to the balcony. In terms of like the actual chase, it's like not. It was like kind of like a fake chase because she's in the apartment. They go to the living room. They go out to the balcony. She comes in from the balcony, and like they just make like a little circle. But I enjoyed them.
Yeah, definitely. There's still, regardless, like I think there was still a bit of a suspense there, and you make a point. Gail's scene was a little bit like short in terms of the chase, aspect. But we have a lot here, right? We have the intro scene. That's suspense and thrill right there. We have the apartment scene. I think the apartment scene that led to the ladder scene is probably one of your favorites.
Oh, I
Chase.
love the latter scene.
Talk
It was
about
so
that.
good. It was
Talk about
so
that,
good.
man.
Because I think like the first 20 minutes after the opening, we were kind of just seeing where all the characters were sitting at. So we needed like a big grand entrance for all of them to kind of encounter Ghostface again. And that was just nonstop action just from the whole ladder sequence. I forgot his character's name, but Sam's boyfriend, he's like across the window
Danny.
and he's like
Danny.
trying to get everyone's attention. He gets out the ladder, everyone's going one by one. Annika, she had to take the bullet for that one.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I mean, she went out with a bang. So,
Yeah. I
Literally.
think that was
yeah,
that was that was definitely one of the best chase scenes I've seen in the franchise. I'll be honest with you.
agreed.
Only because there's always some type of scene where Ghostface out of nowhere then just disappears, right? But in this case, when they would put like that whole drawer set in the door to block Ghostface, he was still pounding that door. He was like determined to get in and cause some damage, and it was great. I think it was suspenseful. I think
Yeah.
we obviously know Scream 5 had none of that. Again, this is not to bash Scream 5.
Yeah.
I think I did a good job of trying to categorize Scream 5 and how it was a love letter to Wes Craven, but Scream 5 didn't have any of that. No chase scene and no suspense in that aspect. This movie was full of chase scenes. You mentioned the ladder. There's a shrine scene.
Oh,
Where
also,
like
I
they,
just wanted to input, the supermarket scene was really good too. We saw like most of
oh
it on the trailer, but that was really well too because you were referencing earlier, one of my biggest gripes with Scream 5 was that there was no suspense or horror scattered throughout the film. With Scream 6, it was like you're gonna get a taste of suspense in like intervals, like 10-minute intervals, and I love that. I thought that was dope.
and I think that's a crucial part of this movie success, and the fact that they're trying to make Ghostface darker, right? You can't have Ghostface be darker and that he's not even involved in any type of chase or suspense, right? He does that. You mentioned the bodega scene. I think it's a great scene. You said we've seen it in the trailer, not all of it. It's great to see how it panned out. It's honestly really great because there's no boring moment. There's no pause in this movie when it comes to that, and I think that's plays a significant role in Ghostface. What you call it, enhancement in being dark. So it's like I don't know. I like it. There's certain things here that people, I guess, I've been reading reviews now. I've unmuted some words people are not liking, and I will get to that in a little bit. But because you know me, I hate fans when they try to reach for certain things and just it kills the whole movie. But a lot of people overall like Ghostface, and I'm so happy to hear that because we haven't had that. We really haven't had that. I don't think Scream
Yeah,
4 too.
that's true.
Scream 4 had some suspense,
Yeah,
some, but not like this. No way, not like this. So I
yeah,
think
It
that
was
plays.
like also I wanted to say there was like great build up. So like even in the first scene, it's like she's texting him and then she calls him and like instead of just saying I can't find the spot, come outside. It's like oh where are you? What does the front look like? They're like building up to it. She comes outside. She's standing out of the restaurant for a couple minutes. Then it's like oh do you see an alleyway? Like they're building up to it. They're like leading. Something's gonna happen, but they're not just giving it to you just like that.
And that's
yeah.
classic horror. That's classic horror. That proved to be effective and proved to be successful. And I think, again, this movie's like has a lot of that. So I appreciate that immensely. I want to go ahead and continue here. Before we continue to obviously other scenes and the killer reveal and whatnot, did you guys have any predictions going into this movie?
I mean, to just without knowing the characters in depth, are you
Yeah.
talking in terms of like predicting who the killer was, or just straight
It
out,
could be
like flat
it could
out?
be it can be killer reveal. It can be anything you anticipated, anything you saw, anything at all.
I definitely guessed Ethan, only
Okay.
because typically when there was only like a few characters introduced and he looked like he would be a killer, so I definitely predicted that was one of my big predictions. As the movie went on, this is really funny, and I do want to address Kirby too, because as a really big Scream 4 fan and Kirby fan, I'm really proud of the way Radio Silence dealt with their comeback. It was so funny because people were saying, "Oh, there's a shrine. Who can have access to the shrine has to be a cop." So people were kind of pointing fingers at Kirby, but people also forgot that Detective Bailey was a cop too. And I didn't predict that Kirby was going to be the killer, but this movie really had me fooled. Like,
Yeah.
even though I
Yeah,
had
they
my
really did.
predictions set on the cop and Ethan, when the cop called Sam saying, "Oh, Kirby was released by the FBI 2 months ago," I was like, "Oh shit, is she the killer?"
Yeah, I
Like,
think I think that scene had us. I'm not gonna lie, for a little bit. That scene definitely had not just us, but a lot of people. And you mentioned Kirby and how Radio Silence dealt with her comeback. I don't know why I was under the impression that Kirby wasn't gonna get much screen time. I thought she
Me
was going to be
too.
back, but not
Especially
like
after the
that.
Legacy cast last movie, I was like, oh, they're probably gonna give her like a few minutes, make her feel somewhat important. But no, she was there throughout the movie. She was there for the final act. I'm proud, and they acknowledged her history with Jill in the shrine and the scene where they were going over the drawing board for the killers. I thought that was cool.
How touching was that scene when she's kind of looking at Jill's plaid shirt, and she's kind of looking. She
Yo,
gets a little teary eyed. I think that's a little bit crazy when you think
it
about it.
it hits even harder because she never saw that side of Jill
Yeah,
because she was knocked out by Charlie. So she's like, damn, like
yeah,
my friend was the
that,
killer.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's a little crazy. I think. What do you think, Namin, about the killers and like being mentioned 1 through 5 in the whiteboard there and giving everybody kind of its recognition?
I loved it. I loved it because they didn't do as much, honoring as they did. Like Scream Five was a clear, you know, not mimic, but very similar. A lot of similarities to the original Scream. So there wasn't that, but there was this where it's like, the progressions of the kills and leaving the mask. I thought leaving the mask was actually really cool because like I thought the shrine was gonna have a bigger purpose than it did in terms of like I thought more things were gonna happen in the shrine. But in terms of like they took the masks from the shrine and they left them as they did the kills, I thought that was really dope way of like honoring them and keeping everything alive.
That is what I got here as well. So that's the thing. You mentioned it. It's a great point. We were so skeptical about this mask. We were so inquisitive. We didn't know what this mask was. What did it mean? We've mentioned this so many times in our podcast. We posted it on TikTok. Now we know that the killer left a ghost face mask worn by a previous killer in each death scene, right?
Yeah.
How sick is that story incorporating and like you mentioned, giving attention to each killer? Like for me, I think Scream 3 Roman is probably the most underrated killer. I don't know why, but he's the most underrated killer. So a movie like this can kind of bring his recognition to life and kind of have this story come together. I think for me, that's a huge, huge positive and a huge, huge success. For me, people who like nostalgia and like have seen the original Screams, they want this mentioned in present day movies like this, right? Especially in a franchise like Scream. So seeing that is amazing. And I'm not saying to repeat itself and be repetitive like going forward, but I think a huge part of this movie's success was that as well. I think just mentioning all those killers, Mickey. Who mentions Mickey? I've never heard Mickey before
Yeah,
after Scream
Mickey and
2.
Roman never get mentioned. Mickey and
Like,
Roman never get mentioned.
exactly. And the fact that they do that is insane. And you're right. You guys bring a great point too about like a lot of people are saying, oh, Kirby, and like she's a detective. She has all this stuff. So she might be the killer. We completely, were oblivious
I'm looking
to
at you, Tom.
Tom. Yeah, Tommy was like, I think it was Kirby. But it's crazy. It's crazy to see that. I think it's pretty cool. Um, and for Stu fans out there, that mask is not for Stu. I know a lot of people are hoping that Stu was going to be in this movie, but like I mentioned before, I really don't see this happening. But you know what, though? Now that we have some, news that Scream 7 is lit, for
Sure.
production, I think they might close this franchise out with him. I still stand by my whole Stu theory that if it is the case, that it has to be perfectly executed. How they do it is beyond me. But I want to move on here. You guys have anything to add to that or no? I mean, again, feel free to jump anytime. But
No, you're definitely right. I'm agreeing with everything you're saying.
yeah, I think. So, how do you guys feel about Nev Campbell, Sidney Prescott, the woman for this franchise, not being in this film? Like, how did you cope with that? Like, did you like that? Did you not? Were you okay with it, Nerman? I'll start with
I was
you.
okay. Yeah, I was okay with it because, like I said after the movie, because we saw the movie together, that I honestly didn't really miss her in the inside the movie. Like they brought her up one time, mentioned that she knows what's going on in New York. She's not coming here. She's taking the family. They're going to be safe elsewhere. Which is fine. Which is good to know that you're reassured that it would be unrealistic for them to not mention her at all. I feel like.
Right.
So they just
Right.
got that out the way really quick. And they were just saying how, she's not going to come here. So essentially telling us that don't even worry, like she won't be here. And I think it wouldn't really have made sense to even bring her necessarily the way
Yeah,
they
I
made
agree.
this movie. Like, I feel like if they just put her in and like had her come and like help figure out who Ghostface is, it wouldn't really have fit because everything was really surrounded around the core four and around Scream 5, where Scream 5, she wasn't really even that big of a part of it anyway.
Exactly.
One
So,
thing
Really
I
good point.
What are my negatives that I had for that movie? But yes, very good point. Very
yeah,
good
so it's
point.
like, I don't really see how you bring her back. Yeah, we would love to see her, of course, but it would have probably made the movie weaker, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay, that's a great statement right there. You okay?
No, I definitely agree with what he's saying because I'm a really big like Sydney fan too. I mean, who isn't? She's the main girl. But I think if you were to incorporate her into the movie, it would have felt like token, kind of like Scream 5 did. She was brought like because they marketed Sydney in Scream 5 like she was gonna be there throughout the whole movie. She ended up being
Absolutely.
there for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, not even. And I also wanted to back to the core four. I think Sam really solidified herself as like final girl material in this movie. I think every scene she was in, like Sydney kind of passed the torch to her. She's not Sydney, definitely, but with her being Billy's daughter and with the way she took what she was given in this movie, I think she ran with it. Like I wouldn't mind seeing just her again in the next movie either.
Okay, so I agree with the both of you. I do. I do think that they did a great job of kind of making the movie not be about Sydney. I think Norman makes a great point about how they mention her. I think Gail had mentioned her in the one scene. She was like, "Don't worry, she's taking her kids and Mark to a safe area. She deserves her happy ending."
Yeah,
Cool. You make a great point as well. They marketed, her like crazy for Scream 5, trying to sell it, and then, having her in all these interviews and the trailers, all that, and she was there for like what, 30 minutes, if that. So I agree with you. I guess the part, like, my thing is this: moving forward, if they are going to close the franchise, I do think that she should be a part of that somehow. So I don't know how they're gonna do that now that they have established they can make a Scream movie without her. I think that's where it gets a
Yeah,
little bit
that's what I
difficult.
was gonna say. I do agree that if when they do like they make the final movie, she should be there because since she hasn't been killed off. But I feel like how do you bring her back at this point?
Yeah,
yeah,
Like
exactly.
logically to make sense for it to be a good movie, I don't see how they
yeah,
do that. I mean,
absolutely. I guess we'll find out. We'll see how like they handle it moving forward. Moving on, I wanted to talk about Mindy's park scene. Last week I mentioned to Tommy in our Scream 6 predictions video of how every Scream movie is self-aware, right? Like for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they know what movie they're in. And I said Scream 6. I literally said it, and I quote, "What is it gonna be? Like a sequel to the requel?" And that's actually what it ended up being. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't expect that to be the case, but like I think that they did a great job with that scene. I guess giving out the rules and the suspect lists, and Mindy, I think like was on point, even though the movie she kind of says, "Oh, I was wrong again," all that stuff. What do you think about Mindy explaining the rules? Do you think that that's something that's recycled too many times, or do you think it was perfectly fit for the movie?
no, I
Ace,
think
I'll
it.
start. Go ahead, Norman. I'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I think it perfectly fit because at this point it's a staple in the movies. It's almost like you kind of have to have something in there. I feel like they need to speak on it because every single movie has had that, and it's kind of cool to know. I feel like it gives them a little advantage. Like they actually use that information in the movie, and
So they're
she
not
even
just
references
saying
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. She even references it in the park scene where they're trying to like have them out in the open and trying to get Ghostface to come out in the middle of the day. She's like, "This is exactly how Randy died, in a van, broad daylight." So like they referenced that stuff, and Randy talked about exactly that in other Scream movies. So I feel like we need to hear it.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
like that. Ace.
I agree. By the way, the van in broad daylight, another Scream 2 reference. But I think her being related to Randy Meeks, I feel like that is a necessity that has to come with every Scream movie. I did feel like it was more natural this time around compared to last movie as well, only because um, I feel like with Mindy. Oh, by the way, it was so hilarious when Ethan was like guiding her through the when she was hurt. She was like, "Fuck this franchise." I thought that was so funny. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely a necessity as long as it's not too meta because Scream is known for being meta, but I feel
Right.
like this movie it was more subtle. Like there was a lot of Easter eggs that we as fans had to pick up on, whereas Scream 5 was like a reintroduction to everything, where it was just pointing out the meta stuff. That's how I felt.
No, I agree, but again, I agree, but I also think that's what made Scream Five so difficult because Scream Five was going in such a different direction, not a different direction, but a harder direction because they had to make a movie honoring Wes Craven. Like I said, it's a love letter for him, so they really can't do much. I've said this to you too before we went to go watch the film that they had to clear Scream 5 to get to Scream 6 and do what the hell they wanted. And now, obviously, we can't help but notice that this movie has a lot of parallels to Scream 2. So I want to go ahead and just mention that and try to get them out of the way as much as possible. Not only does it have a lot of parallels to Scream 2, but it has a lot of parallels to Scream's 2 original script. Now, Kevin Williamson, for those fans who don't know, had initially made a script for Scream 2 regarding Nancy Loomis and two other killers. And this movie has just that. It has three killers. I don't know how I feel about three killers. Me personally, I don't like more than two. But we're going to talk about that in a bit. But I also want to talk about Scream 2 parallels. We have like you mentioned, the van and broad daylight. So that obviously references Randy's death in Scream 2. What other Scream 2 references do we have here?
I
Can you
mean,
guess?
the campus university setting, I thought that was one. There was another Easter egg where Tara was talking about joining the Omega Beta Zeta sorority.
Yep. Yep.
It's I'm
That's
telling
another
you,
one.
it's like those little Easter eggs. I prefer that being like the meta way for us to pick up on because us fans will like pick that up. But also the motive in the third act is like parallel to Scream
It's
2. The whole
identical.
revenge. Yeah, the whole
So
revenge motive.
I'm gonna say this. It's gonna be a little like probably a hot take for a lot of people. I don't like it completely. I don't, but I will allow it. I give it a pass because how the movie led up to it. I think the movie was so good
Same.
up to that point that I'm not gonna just you know beat it because of this because they still delivered well. After the killer reveal, I think they did a good job, but. Like I don't like the idea of a parent being the killer. I don't. I thought Nancy Loomis, which is now confirmed by the way in this movie because a lot of people didn't know that was her name. They just referenced Mrs. Loomis, but Nancy Loomis is also a Easter egg to Halloween. Dr. Loomis and then Nancy for Nancy, the actress who plays Annie. So that's an Easter egg there. I don't like parents being the killer. It makes no sense. What is your
Yeah.
motive? Oh, that my son died. That you killed my son. Do you know that your son killed all these other people?
He's a serial killer.
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
never
gonna
made
lie though.
sense to me. Like,
What really sold it to me was when Detective Bailey was like, "It wasn't until I saw the picture."
yo,
It was.
we
It wasn't
gotta,
until I saw the
yo,
picture that he died that I wanted to kill you. I was like, "Yo," I was like, "I
yo.
can't blame him."
Nah, listen, I get it. Like, I really do get it, but we gotta give him credit. I think we gotta give him credit where it's due. Detective Bailey. I'm trying to get his full name right now. Dermot Mulroney. I
Yeah,
think
that
he did
too.
a great job being a
He
detective
did.
and also just his reveal afterwards. But yeah, I don't like the motive. I mean, not that I hated it. I just it's number one. I
It
don't
was
like the
done
motive.
before.
Yeah, it was done before, and it was recycled. I don't like that. I don't know. I don't know. I think the motives are getting weaker as the movies get better. I don't know what's going on,
Yeah.
but feel
Yeah,
free
I
to share
think.
your insight on the
I
motive.
mean,
What do you think?
it's hard. It's hard to like come up with a new creative motive. I feel like, and I understand that, but like, don't just use. Not only did they recycle a motive, but they recycled the motive that I think is the weakest motive, like the revenge motive
Yeah,
for like a family member. I mean, I understand that, but like you said, you got to understand that like your kid wasn't a saint, you know.
Yeah,
that's
Like
facts.
your
that,
kid is
that,
a
that,
serial killer, and of course, any parent would kill for their own kid, and you know, in that scenario. But like, I don't know if you're
Yeah,
gonna recycle a motive, at least recycle Scream 4's motive or a
yeah.
stronger motive.
To
okay.
add on to that, because he brings up a really good point. Because I was talking with my work friends today, because a bunch of them saw Scream as well, and the only really gripes I have with this movie is essentially the motive in the third act itself. It wasn't bad, like you said, Mr. S. The whole build up to it, I think, was really solid. So I took it in. I wasn't like hating on it. But I think next movie, I'm really hoping that the unpredictability factor comes into play. That's a really because they were mentioning it too. The only Scream movie that really caught fans off guard on who the killer was and the motive was Jill, only because it was done completely differently from the other movies, and nobody really saw it coming. That unpredictability factor is definitely one of my top wishes for the next movie.
I agree. I think I agree with both of you. You're right too, Ace. I think that nobody really expected Jill to be it because, like you mentioned before too, that she was never really even a suspect in the movies like other movies,
Yeah.
right? I think Nerman makes a great point as well in terms of recycling a motive that was weak. I hated Scream Five's motive. I absolutely hate it. I don't know
Yeah.
how people like it. A lot of people, for some reason, like it. I think those people need to have their brain examined. That motive is the weakest motive ever. Not only that, recycled, like you said, from Scream 2. I knew that they had to do something from Scream 5. I think what upset me the most, and I've mentioned this to Tommy too, you can't give me a Scream 2 trailer, a Scream 6 trailer where Ghostface says, but I'm something different, and
He
then
is not different.
actually have a motive that's weak and is not different, and it ties to being something with Richie. And I get it, fine. Scream 5 is the new generation Scream movies, and you have to have that type of motive. Fine, I get it. But I'm different, and the
They
motive
didn't
is the
even use those
same.
lines. They didn't even use those lines in the movie. Did you
Well,
notice?
so I kind of like that, and I kind of don't like that. I like that only for the fact that the trailer doesn't give out everything. I don't like that because that's such a big line to like leave out,
Yeah.
and then not deliver. So it
I
doesn't
mean,
work.
it's good that they left it out because he is not different, in fact. So
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a good point too.
But-
Different, I guess, in the sense that he was a lot more darker and a lot more brutal and gory, and I'm okay with that. But when I hear I'm different, I'm thinking, oh shit, like you know me, I was happy,
Yeah.
like oh shit, this movie's about to be sick, like this motive is gonna be off the charts, like we're gonna have something insane going on here, and it was a recycled motive, and it's like
Yeah.
again, the movie did great up until that point, and then the killer reveal wasn't as bad, but
The only
and
thing
also-
different really was the three killers, like just the number of killers.
yeah, exactly. And I'm so
But even
thankful that
then-
it's not a cult. I'm so thankful it's not a cult. Thank God. I didn't want that at all. I know Tommy loved it. I hate that. I think that's stupid, but whatever. Go ahead, Norman.
yeah, I mean, the only thing that's worse than Three Killers would have been a cult, but Three Killers also probably my second biggest gripe was Three Killers behind the motive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Three Killers either, but the fact that it's a family, I think justifies it. That's another reason why I didn't look down upon it. I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. It does make sense. For me, I do like to kind of put two and two together. If there are three killers, I like to go back to the movie and kind of see who was who, like who was wearing the mask at the time of the killings and whatnot. And I did that a little bit. And here's what I found out. Quinn was the one who made the phone call to Gail. And she's the one who killed her boyfriend who was muscular. We gotta listen. I'm not trying to get canceled here or anything like that. I'm just saying we gotta stop making Amber kill Dewey and Quinn kill a big dude who goes to the gym. All right. Not only she didn't stab him from behind. She didn't slit his throat from behind. She grabbed him,
Yeah.
brought him to the room, killed him, carried his dead weight. You know how much dead weight is? Like you know how heavy that is? Threw him towards Gale and then made the run for it. I think we gotta that for me takes away from guessing who the killer is. Like I try to put like two and two together, and I can't do that with that. So, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one. But I'm not trying to bash the movie. I'm just saying three killers made it obviously a little bit harder to predict. I was skeptical of Detective Bailey because he was like trying to make sure they didn't take his cop car. Ethan, I think was on my list either way. And my wife was right. I mentioned this in the previous episode. This is who Robbie thinks it is, and it is the killer. It's crazy how she thought about it. Quinn. What do you think about Quinn's reveal? I don't know. Like she was presumed dead, and then she just comes back and dies like right off the
It
bat.
didn't catch me super off guard only because they did the fake out with Roman, and I kind of feel like that's like a cop out because they only had like very few new characters to work with. It was like, oh, let's kill Quinn off supposedly, and then so when she reveals herself, it's like the biggest shock. I wasn't super shocked, but I was like, oh, okay, they faked this out.
But you gotta have cop outs because you gotta make it hard for people to guess. If it's easy for people to guess, it's not gonna be fun for people.
Yeah, but at the same time, if there's three killers,
That's
you're gonna
true.
guess it eventually.
That's true, but I also don't want to be right when I'm guessing the killers. Or is that just me? I don't know. I kind of want to be wrong.
Yeah, you
Me
wanna be
too. I'm
surprised.
dying to be wrong.
Yeah.
You whispered to me in the movies, like right before the third act, though. You were like, "Imagine it's Kirby and Stu." I was like, "Stop playing with me,"
Yeah.
like,
Yo,
because a
how
part
sick
of
was
me
that, man?
wishes, a part of me wishes, but
I don't know.
But also for
We,
me, it's like, was Quinn really necessary?
yeah, right.
I don't know. Like, I didn't want to see three. Two would have been fine.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know if Quinn was really necessary, or at least one of the
Honestly,
siblings wasn't necessary.
I will say though, one thing that's really, really cool that I liked about the family and the whole third act in general with Ghostface, after they stabbed Chad, that whole shot of them going in sync with the knife swipe, that was cool.
I
That
That
wanted
was
to
was
dope.
mention that
cool.
because I have that here in my notes. In the original Kevin Williamson script for Scream 2, he had two Ghostface dressed up and killing Mickey. This was in his original script. He was supposed to kill Mickey. Mickey was supposed to be Chad in this film, and two Ghostface were supposed to kill him. It was supposed to be
Oh,
Derek
okay.
and Hallie. So that was going to be in Scream 2, but it got leaked at Extra. And Extra took the script and leaked it.
Bruh.
Garbage. But whatever. This is the first time we see two ghost faces in one shot, one scene in a film, and I think that was crazy. And you're right; they were in sync. I thought that was a dope moment. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
me
And
too.
what a sad scene. I thought Chad dying like that, being I thought he was dying. I thought that was a great scene. After a chase scene, Chad's fighting out of nowhere. Oh, it's two in sync, all that stuff. And then we found out that he's the new Dewey. He's fucking has like 9 lives yet he survives.
Yeah. Another Scream 2 reference.
Another Scream 2 reference for sure. And it's just like, that kind of like no one's
Yeah.
surviving that, man. No one's
For me,
surviving
it's like, how sad is that because you pointed it out, I actually didn't know that was the first time we saw two ghost faces kill at the same time, and it's so sad that the first time that happens, they don't even kill the guy. Like, come on, man. I don't know. The dude has like 12 stab wounds to the chest, and
You're
he
right.
gets carted out on a stretcher at the end.
You're absolutely right, and it's so funny because you even mentioned it before. Like, what was the point of Quinn's, purpose? I don't see one. So if she's not going to kill him with with Ethan, then what's the purpose here? I guess the only purpose she might have had was the train scene, which I thought was a great scene. The subway scene with Mindy.
The train scene was fire.
That was a dope scene, and I think that's another thing I wanted to touch up. Like, how much feel of New York City did you guys get from this movie? Because it was filmed in Montreal, it wasn't filmed in New York, so it's a little bit different. I think the subway scene definitely adds to that New York City feel, especially us being from New York City. I think that's crazy. I think they did that scene really, really well. I'm not gonna lie, that was like
They did that scene great. One of my favorites because it's a lot longer than I thought it was. Like, I know we saw it in the trailer, but like, there's a lot of time where they're just looking around the train cars and like the lights are flickering on and they're flickering off, and like they see a ghost face here, they see a ghost face there, but they don't know. It's Halloween. I guess, was that Halloween night, the night before Halloween?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, everybody was wearing ghost face masks, they don't know who it is, and it lasted a lot longer. And then he creeps up and he stabbed her perfectly, like in a packed cart all the way in the back. She just slides down, she falls on the floor. So it was a lot more suspenseful than I thought it would be because they had shown it in the trailer. But one of my favorite scenes for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ace, you agree? You said?
Yeah, because the second she missed that train, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
She's
I
done
thought
then.
she was gonna get it. I thought she
and
was gonna
plus
get
she
it.
was left with Ethan, who was my prediction. And I actually thought it was him from that scene because there's like one shot where it pans to Ethan's face and he's looking at her like he wants to kill her. I'm like, yo, it has to be him.
See, that's the thing. This is why I give this franchise a lot of credit, because even though we don't know who the Ghostface is, they really do a good job of making us feel like anyone can be it, right? Especially Ethan.
I agree.
I thought it was him, but still he had those moments where he's like, on the train, he looked like he wanted to kill her.
Yeah, for real.
I thought, because we saw the teaser trailer, from the teaser trailer, I had thought, okay, Mindy's gone, right? And we knew that she wasn't in the same subway cart as them, the core, the other core members, but this confirms it. But she doesn't die. She gets stabbed. It was a crazy stab too. I thought she was gone. I really did. And then she's like, oh, I was wrong again. When she said that, I'm like, oh, she's living. Like they made a joke out of it. Once you make a joke out of something like that, they're surviving. But
And not only did she survive, but at the end, she's like running up, like she's like perfectly fine.
Well, which is another negative here.
Oh, horrible.
Mindy, first of all, in the apartment scene, she gets slit, right? Like here, she's losing blood. I know by default, you got to be at least one night in the emergency room to make sure that your wounds are okay. You shouldn't be out like with your friends trying to figure out who the killer is. And then again, you get stabbed in the subway, and then the next day, like you're coming out running. I'm pretty sure that's not how it works either. Like,
Yeah, right in the gut, twisted the knife. I'm like,
nah, it doesn't work that way. And I understand that there's supposed to be suspense of disbelief regarding films, but this is a little bit too much. A little bit too much. But
No, I 100% agree with you.
yeah,
But in her defense, she didn't want to miss the monologue.
I guess. But I feel bad because she had to redeem herself, even though I think she was right from the very beginning, even though they were making her look wrong. I like Mindy's character. I like her, parallel to Randy. But yeah. But another performance we want to talk about is Sam. A lot of people, for some reason,
yeah.
Tommy included, Tommy had mentioned that he wasn't really too fond of her acting and her performance in Scream 5. What do we think about her in Scream 6?
Honestly, I think she was MVP from the newer cast. I think every scene she was in, you can tell she took, at least from an acting standpoint, like the trauma from Scream 5, and she was trying to educate Tara. You can't forget about this. I think she brought that with every scene she was in this scene. Like, I think she's a solid final girl. Also, it was a really cool scene where she actually put on the mask and killed him. Like, it kind of like gave me flashbacks to Sydney in the first Scream. So I like Sam's character. I've never had a gripe with her, but I know that many people do. Hopefully, people's opinions have changed because of this movie.
Okay, Norman?
yeah, I agree. And I actually like that she kind of has like Tara as like her little wingman. You know, like she like looks after Tara, but also like at the end she's like she wants to shoot him, and she's like Tara's like nah, you know. So it's kind of like I feel like she has Tara and like she's looking after Tara, but also Tara helps her out, you know, because she's going through therapy. Sam's going through therapy, you know, she's taking it a little harder. So she definitely stepped it up from 5, and I don't see how I feel like she'll just get better, you know, with 7.
Yeah, I agree. I think she wasn't bad even in the previous film. I think this movie she did a lot better. I think she did a lot better, and it's not hard. It's not hard to replace Neve Campbell in a franchise like Scream. It's not hard to do. I mean, it is hard. I'm sorry, it is hard to do that, and she made it seem like pretty effortless. And I hope she continues to deliver in this next film, because you got to close out a series. I do think there's going to be one more, and I think it's going to be the last one of this whole franchise. I really do, and I'm just hoping the kill count will be a lot more than it was now. I can't help me figure out how many kills were in this movie. Right? We had
so I was actually looking it up. I think I wrote down 7.
I wrote 10.
7. Oh,
You wrote 10 from Ghostface though? From Ghostface, I'm
no,
saying.
I included everybody in the
Yeah,
film.
yeah, yeah. I'm saying how many kills did Ghostface have?
7.
Because
7.
yeah, 7, right? Because you don't count the first one. Because the first one was Jason.
Well, okay.
I'm counting like true Ghostface kills because I don't think.
I get what you're saying. Okay,
I think it was 8. I think it's 8.
Let's do every kill in the film. Let's do that, and we'll break it down.
Okay.
Should we do that? We got Samara Weaving.
Yeah, that's 1.
We got Jason.
2.
Greg,
even though it was off screen. 3.
Yeah, Greg. Then we got the bodega. We got 3 people in the bodega.
Oh shit, I forgot about them. 3 people?
Yeah, we got 3 people in the bodega. Then we got Annika.
Yep, we got the therapist.
We got the therapist. We got
Gail's boyfriend.
Gail's boyfriend, and I got the 3 killers.
That's it. Yeah.
Am I missing?
That's
anyone?
12. I think that's 12.
You ran out of fingers there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
think-
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty good. I would have wanted 10 clean just from Ghostface, and then
I agree.
yeah.
But
Because-
honestly, what I did like, not to cut you off, but what I did like was, even though there weren't as many as I would have liked to see, they were way more gruesome. So it kind of felt like there was. I didn't realize there was that few. I honestly thought it was more. So when I went back to look, I'm like, oh wow, there was only from Ghostface himself 7, 7 or 8. So it's like, although we didn't get as many, they were some of the best kills.
Yeah, and everybody
more
got
bloody.
attacked too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that has to do with also of how the chase scenes kind of played a role in it, right? I feel like it wasn't just a straight on kill, boom, they're done. It was like the suspense, obviously, and everything that led to those kills that makes it work. And that's why I think, like you said, like 10 or whatever it is, 12 is a good number for this movie. I think it's okay too. The whole movie felt like it was action, like nonstop. Not nonstop, but you know what I mean. Like it flowed. It was really it was done right. There was never like a dull moment, and I think that works. I think a lot of people for some reason did think it was going to be a lot more because I guess they saw the trailer and thought it was going to be a lot more. But again, there has to be a balance of these things, and it worked out. It definitely worked out. And you're right. The Ghostface is a lot more. The kills were a lot more bloody and gory. And even his dialogue, like his dialogue was great. I think like his dialogue seemed angry, like from the very beginning,
Yeah.
and it adds to Ghostface, darker side this movie. So that's that. New York City, I forgot to mention also like the feels of New York. So Central Park is what we had. We had the subways. We also had the bodega. We also had the parties in college. So what if I'm missing anything? Let me know. I wish there was like a Times like a Jason the Friday the 13th street scene like with like Times Square, but I guess not. So, but it's fine. I think it worked well. They're obviously trying to escape the killings from Woodsboro from a year earlier. So, new location, right? That's totally fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you guys want to add to this. The killer reveal, we talked about that a little bit. Is there anything you didn't like about the shrine? Like, did you feel like there was anything missing?
Not necessarily. I was just happy that they acknowledged like past victims and killers. I liked it when Gail saw Dewey's kind of section. That was like a good homage to Dewey.
Okay, yeah. So we have Dewey. We have obviously Jill looking at that. They missed Roman here again. I didn't see anything from Roman here, man, in the shrine. Like I may be wrong. Maybe there was like a Stab 3 poster somewhere, but I'm happy that they mentioned him, but like they're not very consistent with him, and I feel bad. They got to give him a lot of credit. So that's what I wrote down here. I was upset about that. But the shrine was great. I think it was a key to this movie's success. I don't know if future films will have something like this because it will not work, right? If it's repetitive.
Yeah, I was skeptical on it to begin with, honestly. When I saw it in the trailer, I was like, I don't know.
So
Like if it,
go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
We learned that it's Richie's. Like, how do we
Yeah,
feel about that? We learned that's actually Richie's shrine.
he bought
Isn't
it.
that
Apparently,
insane?
he had bought the theater
I
out.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of Richie's and the film students from the beginning, right? I heard something about the film students, I believe.
Well, he took over. This was I heard that
Took
it was
over.
Richie's, and he wanted to take over, and like he had like his short film playing and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So Richie was more, what you call it, obsessive than we thought. Like I didn't think Richie would play such a big role. So I think they're trying to maybe push Richie to be the new Billy. I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
know about that, but listen, I'll take the shrine.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's because it's a new era. They're trying to paint out Richie to be like not the next Billy, but like just in terms of being the first one from the new era to set the tone. It
Yeah,
made
yeah,
sense shrine-wise, so I'm not mad at that, but I never was the biggest fan of the motive to begin with. You're starting killings just because you don't like how your favorite horror movies are turning out. That's not
yeah,
strong enough to
man.
make a whole movie. I don't know.
Last, before we get to the ratings, what do we think about Gail's overdue phone call?
Oh, I loved it. Me personally, I know Norman was referencing how like that scene wasn't as solid as the other ones, but I think I just do want to give Courtney Cox her credit because I think she's the only one that's been in all Scream movies as a legacy character. And I feel like once you're in your six movies, you're aged a little bit, a lot of time has gone by, you can still feel the essence of Gale throughout all of these years. Like I loved it when the theater was laughing when she goes, "Can you just hold for 1 second?" And Ghostface was like,
Yeah,
"What?" Yeah, that was smart too, though. That's such a Gale thing to do. Like she just
Yeah,
wants
she
to
banged
catch
it on
him.
it too.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I like that scene a lot.
She's definitely experienced. Norman, what do you think?
Yeah, I like the scene. It just in terms of the actual chase, I thought it was like it was a little small. Like they
Mm.
just ran around the quick balcony. But the actual scene itself, Gail did a really good job. She came around and she shot him, right through the door.
Mhm.
Called him on the phone, like you said. That was awesome. That was like a very, very Gail thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Shows her experience. Are you guys happy that she ended up living?
No, I'm happy.
I
I'm not
am.
happy. I'm not happy that there's so many people that should have died didn't die.
Okay.
Nobody died. Like
First
they
in line
needed.
should have been one of the Meek siblings before Gale, in my opinion.
Did
Because
you?
if you're
Go
gonna
ahead.
acknowledge like Scream 7, right? It got lit. If you're gonna acknowledge the past and like tie it all in together, just to have Sydney only, I don't know if that would work well. I feel like Gail's been a solid person in cracking like the Ghostface case. I mean, if she dies next movie, I think that'd be more fair. Like, I wouldn't be mad if she died in the next movie, but I
So
feel
you're
like
saying
just to
that?
kill them off one by one, that's like a cop out to me. Just to say you killed them, I don't like that.
Okay, I don't know if it's a cop out. I don't know if it's, but I see what you're saying. You're saying the timing should be right. I get that because like for Scream Five, we knew Dewey was gonna die, even though
Yeah,
it wasn't legal.
everybody
We
knew.
just knew. But I don't know. I feel like Tommy predicted Gail was gone. He said that. I think Gail is gone. So
I thought she was too when she got stabbed with
The glass.
the yeah.
yeah,
I thought wow, like really?
I thought that was definitely a possibility, especially because there's like if you answer the phone call, you're dead, right? But I don't know. I love Gail. I think Gail has been a dominant role in this franchise. If she had gone out that movie, I think I would be sad. But I think that it would have made it a little better. I'm being honest with you. I
Yeah,
think it would have made the
because
movie
I
a little
think
bit better.
I also think the scene fit. Like, had she died
Yeah,
right there on the
yeah,
floor, that would
yeah.
have been, it wouldn't have, it wasn't a weak scene for her to die in,
Right,
And I
right.
also don't want to see like, I understand she's a legacy character, but like, she's kind of had the same role. Like, she doesn't write any, like, so it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they're kind of dragging it on a little bit. Like, I don't
yeah,
want to see
yeah.
her live too long, and then it's like, okay, finally she died. Like, like you're waiting for her to die at this point, as
Yeah.
opposed to it coming a little more spontaneously.
I also I also thought it was pretty fitting too. Like if she did die, like she wrote another book which she wasn't supposed to do, which she lied about, and she showed them the shrine. She did her own investigation. So like she did Gale things. She definitely did Gale things. So she can like kind of die the way she kind of came into the franchise. I thought that would have been kind of like a full circle thing, but whatever. That's just me. Um,
She's only the connection to Sydney, though, if I'm not mistaken. Like Sydney does, like wants nothing to do with Ghostface, the media reports, all of that. Gail was the one that gave like that Sydney news. I just feel like the only reason why I feel like it's okay that she lived is because if they address it, Gail and Sydney, they're like the duo or connection duo or whatever. I can see
true,
Gail dying, saving herself for Sydney in the next
true.
movie.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what
Also,
happens there.
had Chad or Mindy died, I also would have been fine with Gail living. Like the fact that all three
That's
of
a
them
good point.
survived
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
that's a good point.
is a
That's a
little
good
too
point.
much. Is a little too
That's a good
much for me.
point. Um, okay, so we've said what we had to say. I think there's always a lot more once you see the movie more than once. I think I'm gonna go see it again this week, so you kind of pick up on a little bit more, like you said, Easter eggs, different parallels, different comparisons, all that stuff, yada yada. Ooh, do you have anything else to say now before we go to the ratings?
I'm ready for the ratings.
Okay,
Yeah, I was saying ready
okay.
for the ratings too.
So we're gonna go for the ratings, and then we're gonna go for the rankings. Nerman, I'm gonna start with you. What's your rating? Out of 10.
Out of 10, 8.
8. Okay, 8.
8. I was leaning towards 8.5 earlier today as I was thinking about it, but my main gripes are the motive, and because the motive was not only weak but repeated, recycled, that knocks off like a whole point for me. And then the fact that none of the like Chad didn't die, Mindy didn't die, Gail didn't die. I needed to see. I felt like one of them to go, especially if Seven's going to be the last one, which I don't know if it will, but if it is, then I feel like you're gonna have to kill off a bunch of people. It may be too many, So it's like to see one go now. Like I understand why you're keeping them, but if you're saving them all for just one more movie, it's you have other people that you can kill off in Seven if it's gonna be the last one. So like I feel like it would have just made this one a little more meaningful. But other than that, I love the movie. Like the movie was awesome. I was saying like the first two acts up until the end, I was like, please don't mess this up because it's been amazing. The first hour and a half were awesome. Like I loved it. Action. There was Ghostface was amazing. Ghostface was badass. He was dark. He was bloody. He was a menace. Ghostface was a menace, and it like reminded me of Halloween Ends, like the exact opposite. How they made Michael weak. You don't see Michael for like the first hour.
Right.
He can't kill anybody on his own. It's like they did the opposite with this one, even though it's not the last one. But it's like Ghostface wasn't as strong as he was before in other movies, and in this one they really made him a menace. He fit New York perfectly. Um, the movie was great. I loved it.
Alrighty. All right. Okay. I think that's good justification to your rating. Ace.
Yeah, it's definitely a good rating. Mine's like kind of bordering the same number, but I'll be generous and give it an 8.5, only because I wasn't the biggest fan of Scream 5 getting out the theater. I just wanted to give Radio Silence their props for this movie because they had a lot to live up to and a lot of tasks to fulfill in this movie. The way they handled Kirby, I was a really big fan of. I thought they were going to treat her as some side piece, side character. She was the main focal point of the story. I enjoyed that. They added suspense, horror, something that was really missing in the fifth one. and it was frequent like throughout the movie, which is I know looking back when I'm going to rewatch the Scream movies that this one's going to be enjoyable simply because it was entertaining and suspenseful. Um, and just the way they incorporated a new setting. I like the movie a lot. I'm gonna give it a solid 8.5.
Okay, I think I agree with the combination of both your points. I give the movie an 8.5 as well. I think I was really impressed with how they're gonna respond because like I said, I look at Radio Silence as this is their movie. I know last movie was obviously their movie as well. They directed it, wrote it, all that stuff, but they had to write a letter to Nev Campbell. They had to make a movie the fans had to know was honoring Wes Craven. So they had some type of restrictions. This movie was their own take on it. If you've seen Ready or Not, I feel like they've kind of incorporated a lot of their elements here. Ghostface is the best Ghostface in any movie of the franchise. I mean, any, even Scream 1. And I know a lot of people don't like to admit that. I think this is the best Ghostface we've seen in terms of how bloody and how killer mindset can like be applied here. So I think that's great. I think you're right, Kirby coming back. You can't just bring back a character just to bring him. I think they did a good job with her. The suspense, the thrill, the New York City vibes. I thought that was absolutely great. The motive, it was a weak. I didn't like the recycled motive, like you said, Nerman. I do wish that they could have done something better with that, but I also understand it. I understand that they can't go way back in the movies, that they got to go with 5. Sure, I don't like the fact that they mentioned I'm different and did nothing with it. But overall, the movie flowed really well. A lot of suspense, and it was a good horror movie. It generated, like you said, $44.5 million opening weekend. I think that's the most, in a Scream franchise. So props to them. 8.5 is a good movie. I mean, good rating from me. I do see a lot of people liking this movie. Me personally, since now we went circle, I'm going to start. AC going to go next. I'm going to rank these movies now. Scream 1 will always be my top Scream. Yes, I'm that person, but for a lot of different reasons. You got to really dig deep and see what they went through to make that movie. I put this second. I put Scream 6 second.
Really?
Yeah, I put it second.
Okay.
Maybe we'll change in the future. Maybe it can change because I feel like sometimes my movies do change sometimes. I put it second. Third, this is a tie between 4 and 5, but I'll give 4. I'll give 4 the edge because I said 5 last time, but I'll give 4 the edge because, again, it was ahead of its time. I did like it a lot. 5, I do think, is really underappreciated because they don't know what kind of movie it was. So, and it's hard to do. I think that movie's hard to do. Then I'm going to go ahead and say 3. And that changed because it used to be 2, but I'm going to say 3 and then 2. So if you look back last year how I rated it, it was a little bit different. And these things can change throughout. But right now, that's how it stands. 1, 6, 4, 5, 3, 2. So that's how I'm going to go with this for right now. I also want to shout out Sam, Melissa Barrera on her performance as Sam. So,
yeah, second that.
Yeah, so that's my rankings. Ace, I know you have some rankings there that you would like to get off your chest.
I'm not gonna lie. I just came back from work, so I didn't get a chance to finalize my list. So I let Nerman take the floor, and I'm just gonna quickly.
Nah. This is what this podcast is about.
All right, fine.
On the spot.
All right, ready?
Come on now.
I mean, my top 3 are solid. Like my top 3 are solid. Just the bottom I can kind of mismatch. But Scream the original, but Scream 4 not even underneath it, like right next to it, because I have like vivid memory of seeing the trailer when I was a kid. That was the first Scream movie I saw in theaters. But I truly did feel that Scream 4 was ahead of its time because Wes Craven, just a little side note, he did say he never wanted to do a Scream movie again after Scream 3, but because he saw how good the script was, he agreed to do 4. I want to put that out. So
Okay.
Scream 1, Scream 4, Scream 6, and then I would say Scream 3, Scream 2, Scream 5.
You have Scream 5 at the bottom of your list?
Yeah.
That's
I'm
crazy,
sorry.
dog.
I've watched all of them back to back.
Crazy.
I'm sorry. Nah.
Listen, look, we all can have our rankings, and I was being nice putting Scream 4 over Scream 5 because, like, I just wanted to, show it appreciation because, rest in peace Wes Craven. But Scream 5 to put at the bottom of your list is bizarre. But listen, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, right? No matter how crazy it can be. Nerman?
The movie was not it, bro.
I'm gonna go original 6, and then I'll go debate between 3 and 5. Original 6, I'll go 3, 5, and then 2.
Okay. Okay, I respect it. I respect it. Listen, everybody has their own list. A lot of people are posting their letterbox rankings. That's great. This is what this franchise does. It gets people talking. It's self-aware. So hopefully, if there is a next film, hopefully it's not, 2 years from now. Hopefully it's like the way they did this one, a year from now, and hopefully it ends, memorable. But I have also fan questions here. Just 2 quick questions, if you guys don't mind. If you had to erase one horror film from ever existing, which one and why?
Any horror film?
Any horror film. You guys think about that. I'm going to go ahead and answer Malignant. Everybody knows how much I hate that movie. That movie sucks. Don't watch it. If you did watch it somewhere, I don't think it came out in theaters. It was on HBO Max, but I wish you can get your time back. That movie's horrible. James Wan, sorry. Don't like it. That's my movie.
Honestly, I'm gonna go Friday the 13th. Was it 2008?
2009. The remake?
2009? That was
Okay.
bad.
Okay.
That was bad.
Okay, one of those remakes. Okay, yeah, remakes. Were a hot time. But not a lot of good movies.
So the question was one horror movie to like erase.
Yeah, and why?
Scream 5. No, I'm playing. I'm completely joking.
Take
I don't
that shirt
think,
off.
I don't think any Scream movie is bad. I just entertainment wise, rewatching them all them back to back. I enjoyed that one the least. But I would say I'm gonna give a unique answer and say Slender Man. Only because I feel like the material was so strong to work with. It's such a strong urban legend and such a popular game. If they utilized it right, it could have been something big, but that movie was trash and forgettable.
Okay, fair. But that was the question by Bistiona V. Jarku. Thank you for asking that question.
Hey, Monsieur.
Hey, shout out Bistiona. And we have one more question from Nerman, actually. Top 5 non-horror movies. This is a tough question, honestly. I don't know how to answer this question.
Yeah, this is hard. I shouldn't have asked this question.
No order at all.
Yeah, we don't have to do order.
I'm just gonna go ahead and just name a few that I like, and that for me is going to be Training Day, Dark Knight, The Godfather. What else? 5 non-movies. I don't know what else. Let's see.
Two more.
I'm gonna go ahead and say The Sandlot. I grew up watching The Sandlot a lot.
That's a good one.
I love that.
That was a good movie that I watched. And Reservoir Dogs, Quentin Tarantino.
Okay.
I'll say that. That was a movie. That was a good movie.
I like that. All right, I'll go next. I'll go Dark Knight, of course. One of the favorites. I'll go Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
2, I'll go The Town, one of my favorites. 3, I'll go childhood classic. 4, Holes, number 4. Not in order, but 4
shit,
Holes.
nice.
I love that movie. That movie was just on the other day too. 4, and then one more. One of my favorites. Actually, I'll go. I just watched it recently, Interstellar,
Okay.
because I'm getting more interested with like space and time, and like that movie was
Okay.
crazy. I gotta watch it
Respect it.
again because it's like so much going on, and I'm not even a huge sci-fi person, but that one was dope.
Nice. Very nice.
Not sure. Good list. Off the top of my head, no ranking. I'm gonna say The Outsiders. I really like that movie.
Oh, great
Um,
movie.
Hunger Games is a really good one too. I rewatched it
I know
recently.
you're
It
a big
was
Hunger Games fan.
it was better than I remembered. I like Hunger Games. Dark Knight, obviously. Scarface is a good one too. I remember growing up watching that one a lot.
Scarface.
How did I mention that?
That's
a
good one. That's a
I
good
take
one.
my answer back. Bro. What I put last? Reservoir Dogs. Take that shit out. Put Scarface.
Let me drop holes. Let me drop holes.
Fuck that. That's
And I'll
Could I
end my
remember?
list with a funny movie, White Chicks. Always laugh.
Oh, White Chicks is
Classic.
funny.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Classic. I wasn't even thinking of
Absolutely.
comedies. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm thinking more like Oscar, type movies.
Yeah.
Critics,
Speaking of
something.
Oscars, shout out
Jamie
Jamie Lee
Lee.
Curtis for winning her first Oscar.
OG.
Amazing, and they recognize her as the Halloween actress. I love it, absolutely love
That's
it. So for
right.
all your horror fans, Halloween fans, shout out, we won. We caught a W. But
Oh yeah, I just
that-
want to flex to your viewers real quick. We saw the Halloween house in Pasadena.
We
So
did. We were in
did.
you
LA
can't sit with
2
us.
weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago almost. We saw the house in Pasadena. Absolutely, a great experience. I even took pictures of where Jamie was sitting with the pumpkin. Awesome. But yeah, that's all for this week. We went over an hour and 10 minutes, but we obviously have a lot to talk about, especially when it comes to Scream, when I think one of the best horror franchises out there. Shout out Nerman, shout out Ace for being here. Thank you for filling in Tommy's shoes. Great episode, I think. I'm gonna go ahead and sign us off, but I hope you know what comes at the end. So we're gonna try this here, okay? Ready? Follow us on Twitter at That's Horrific. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube at Well That's Horrific, because if you don't,
Well, that's horrific.
Thanks for having us.
thanks Ace for being part of that. Good night, everybody. Thank you for being there. Peace.
Peace.